Ladies and gentlemen, rock viewers all around the world, welcome back to Musical People and Journeys, the rock album review show. Welcome to my amazing panel of Trish, Chris, it looks like Anti-Satan, but his name is Nathan, and Ep10. Hello, welcome, crew.
Ooh,
hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
So, if you haven't listened to the show before, Trish, what are people going to go and do? What are people going to do?
They need to hit like, subscribe, and watch and share.
Absolutely right. Okay, so we are reviewing all the latest kind of rock albums, and then we're going to do a rock show, results show, shall I say, at the end. So tune in for that. So 8 albums. This particular panel are going to be reviewing albums in 8 different shows. Please, if you like what you hear, why not tune in and listen to more? So today we are starting with Bruce Dickinson and the Mandrake Project. So Bruce Dickinson, born in 1958, is an English singer. He's obviously the lead vocalist of the heavy metal band Iron Maiden. Dickinson performed in the band across 2 stints from 1981 to 93 and from 99 to the present day. He's also known for his wide-ranging operatic vocal style and energetic stage presence. Now, bit of history in terms of Dickinson. Began his career fronting small pub bands in the 70s while attending school in Sheffield and University in London. In 1979, he joined the British new wave heavy metal band Samson, if you didn't know that, with whom he gained some popularity in the stadiums Bruce, and performed 2 studio albums. He left Samson in 81 to join Iron Maiden, replacing Paul Di'Anio, and debuted on their 1982 album The Number of the Beast. During his first tenure of the band, they issued a series of US and UK platinum and gold albums in the 80s and early 90s. And I know, obviously, he's done several solo albums, and the Mandrake project. Ian, you are from this genre of Iron Maiden and Bruce.
Yeah.
What did you? I mean, like me, I know you're an Iron Maiden fan because we watched them. What did you think of Bruce's solo effort and the Mandrake project?
Well, it's because I'm going to start by nodding to Adrian Smith, who also is in Iron Maiden and also did his own project. He did Adrian Smith and Project ASAP, and I wasn't a fan. And this happens when you get a band that you absolutely love, and then they go and do the solo stuff, and you're like, yeah, I'm not keen on that. And that's kind of understandable because they want to do something that isn't probably in line with the band and what they do there. They want to do something different. So it's going to be Marmite, isn't it? You're going to love it or hate it, I think. Adrian Smith and Project, wasn't a fan of this. Absolutely loved this. It's very different. It's more rock and metal. It's more rock than metal that we're used to and associate Bruce Dickinson's voice with. It works really well with that rock feel, though. There is a metal element to it. It's more rock than metal. It's not rock replacing metal. But I think his top range is it's pitchy a little bit now. That's my only criticism, is that his top range, I mean, he's still got that voice, hasn't he? It's just a bit pitchy sounding now, but then he is 412, so what can we expect? His storytelling skills are prominently on display throughout the album. He is one of the best storytellers through his vocals in the industry. I think that's why I really like them. And standout tracks for me would be Many Doors to Hell. It's got absolutely delicious guitar solo in there, very simple. You heard a lot before, but when it's done well, it's gorgeous. Finger in the Wounds, very modern progressive rock, and Sonata, Immortal Beloved. I really like that as well. So yeah, all in all,
did you get the gist of the album?
Probably not, to be honest, by the sounds of it. What do you mean by the gist of the album?
Well, it's a concept album. It's actually a concept album based on a series of comics that he's producing. There's a whole website to it. I didn't know
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cool.
But more of that when I do my review.
Yeah.
Trish.
Yeah, definitely.
Trish,
Hello.
do you like a bit of Iron Maiden? Do you like a bit of that dulcet ballad storytelling rock? No?
No. For me, this album didn't get off to a great start with the opening track, Afterglow of Ragnarok, as it just didn't give me anything, was a bit too dark for me musically. And as I was never into Iron Maiden back in the day, this was not off to a great start, even as a solo project. However, after the first track, the album exploded with great upbeat tracks, guitar riffs, and solid rock sound. For me, standout tracks were Fingers in the Wounds and Face in the Mirror, as it showed Bruce's vocals better than some of the other tracks, and were tracks that I loved. That being said, while this is a solid album, it's just not one I can see myself going back to put on out of my personal choice.
Okay, Chris. Now then, Bruce, your cup of tea?
So, yes and no. Musically, very much so. There's a lot of range in on the album, the styles that they're playing to, and it feels a little bit like if you're a fan of Iron Maiden, it feels like there's certain periods through Iron Maiden's history where he's been thinking of doing these sorts of songs, and so it feels there's quite a variation to the album. It feels like he's had some ideas over time that he's now brought together as part of the concept. And if, as I say, as we'll come to in your bit, Nigel, if there's this is musically alongside a history that he's been working on for some time, it sounds a bit like that. I think his vocals match better with Iron Maiden's style of music than the music he's got in this album. As Trish was saying, some of the songs like in Afterglow of Ragnarok, it didn't feel like his vocals matched that song very well. When you get into Fingers in the Wounds, even Eternity Has Failed, which I think is can you really cover your own song in a different band? I suppose you can. I think Eternity Has Failed was an Iron Maiden song, and it's an alternative version now. His vocals work a lot better on some of those songs than others, to me. I really liked it musically. The vocals, not so much. Shadow of the Gods, I think, which is one of the, I think it's the penultimate song, his vocals matched really well with the sort of the range they were going for in the music. So that worked really well for me. But so I think there's a lot here, and it is going to be interesting to see what else he does, if he does anything else, or if he goes back to Iron Maiden and carries on with Maiden go forward. But yeah, I think it's either he needs to bring his range a bit lower, because as Ian was saying, when he tries to go for the high stuff, it might be due to age and wear and tear on the voice and everything like that, but it feels like he might try and bring that down a little bit and bring himself back into the music. But again, that was just my opinion. He's been releasing music for a long time. He knows it better than I do. So.
Well, as we say, our ratings or our views are literally down to our personal listening preferences, rather than the technicality or the composure of it. So, I'm dreading this. Come on, Nate, let's have it. Iron Maiden fan, Bruce fan.
This is the music they play in prisons to get confessions out of people. I can find nothing good about it at all. So,
did you like the cover?
None of you mentioned any of it. No, I thought the cover is shocking as well. It looks like a garage band's first EP from the 80s, and that's also what it sounds like. It is the worst drum production I've heard since early thrash in the 80s. I can't believe none of you mentioned that. It's the worst sounding drum kit in the history of the last 30 years, easily. He can't sing anymore at all. He also puts far too many syllables in, so his melodies are all over the place. It's actually one of the worst things that has happened to me. Genuinely one of the worst listening experiences I've ever had in my life. I hated it. Well known, and every single review of him.
I won't be inviting him for an interview.
Yeah.
Should say that.
Yeah, no person. Yeah, I appreciate that. Now, we can't have to we're not going to call people names here. Okay, I mean, you might personally think that, but I mean, Okay. You didn't like the album and you don't like Bruce. Is what I'm picking up from that.
And I don't like Maiden. Maiden's got 2 songs, and they hold the record for the worst gig I've ever been to. And he was horrible at that show as well. So,
To be fair, I think a lot of bands have only got 2 or 3 songs, and they do variations of that. Not all bands, but most of that's how they create their sound. So I think that's not exclusive.
I totally agree, but not all bands think they're royalty. You know, we waited for Maiden to come on, and they were delayed for like 3 hours because they wanted red arrows to fly overhead. And word on the street is that like Bruce was being a weirdo about it. You can't keep people waiting in the rain for 3 hours and come out and tell them they're the bad crap. Fuck you.
Well,
terrible album.
There might be a different.
Let's move swiftly on, Nigel. What do you think of the album?
Different story on that one. Right, so Mandrake Project's not just an album. It's a dark, adult story of power, abuse, and a struggle for identity, set up against the backdrop of scientific and occult genius. Created by Bruce Dickinson, the comic book series is scripted by Tony Lee and stunningly illustrated by Stas Johnson for Zentra Comics, released in 12 quarterly issues that will be collected into 3 annual graphic novels. For me, this is very much a slow burner. It takes time to immerse yourself into it, but when you do, I think it's a very, very good album. Utterly disagree with Nathan's verdict of the drumming. I think it's absolutely fine. I think the production is fine, and we listened to a lot of albums. I didn't see it was absolutely terrible. I thought it was fine. With 16 albums to review this, I didn't quite have time, I think, to dedicate this. Or dedicate more of my time to it as well. But I genuinely think that amongst Bruce and Iron Maiden fans, I think this will become a classic. I really do. I think it's incredibly well crafted. I think the storytelling reminds me of times of like Rhyme and Ancient Mariner, that sort of type of singing or construct of a song that Iron Maiden used to put together. And in fact, I preferred this to the Iron Maiden album, which was very much a bit of a dirge and would go on for way, way too long. So, highlight for me, bizarrely, was Eternity Has Failed. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think it's all really well done. In terms of storytelling and the crafting of that storytelling, I absolutely agree. You know, it's not Bruce at his height of his powers. The higher range of his vocals is a bit... so I kind of agree with that. He doesn't push it too often, but when he does it, you can hear it. It's not quite the power that he has, but then obviously that comes in. But I think in terms of a storytelling and crafting, I think it's an absolute terrific album, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, so it's really good. So, okay, right, well, do you agree? Do you agree with Nathan? Do you agree with us? Do you agree with me and Ian? Do you agree? Are you so on the fence with Trish or Chris? Please leave your comments below, and that would be amazing. Okay, fantastic. So, thank you very much for joining us. Ian, what have people got to do, Ian? What have they got to do? And do it silently. Do it silently. You can do it loudly, or you can do it silently.
People have got to unmute. They've got to unmute.
They've
got to subscribe and devote some of your time to listening to us blithering idiots banging on about crap we think we know about, and maybe we do, maybe we don't.
But thanks very much, and tune in again. Goodbye for now, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.